because as a public servant, thank you, was faced with a lot of discrimination. You see, when I came to Australia in 1970, and I went back to Greece in 73. In August 73, I became an Australian citizen. In November, I went back to Greece to visit my family. And I received a telegram from the Department of Immigration, with which I was working on a contract as a translator. It says, Michael, if you want to come back to have a position here, you have to come back as soon as you can. And I was promised what was then a class 5 position. And I started as CA1, the lowest level of the public service. I was paid as a class 4, and it took more than 2 years or 3 years. And the first promotion I got was from CA1 to level 5. And of course there were a lot of appeals against my promotion, because these days anybody could appeal anybody's promotion. And the day I went for the interview for the appeals, my supervisor said to me, "Oh, why are you dressed up?" And I was wearing the same suit all the time. I said, "I've got the appeal." And he said, "Oh, Michael, with your accent, why do you bother?" Then I went for the appeal. As per normal, I was the last one to be interviewed. And at the end of which I was told, "Yes, Michael, you got the promotion. The appeals have been dismissed." So I went back deliberately, jumping up and down. And he said, "Why are you jumping up and down?" I said, much probably to your surprise, I got the promotion. I won the appeal. So when I was in Vienna, I was asked to go to Warsaw for 3 weeks to relieve the migration officer there. So when I was there, I interviewed somebody, a diplomat, in inverted commas, and refused him a visa, because I knew he was not going to, he was not a diplomat, he was going as a spy. So I said, because we didn't have computers then, I said the telex, and I just refused an applicant diplomat, and I know that you're going to put the replacement of the migration officer here, so I suggest you put a name, just a name, so because they're going to reject it for the reasons I rejected them, and then put the other name. I've got a response saying, "Oh, what are you talking about?" Anyway, so they did what they thought they should do. Of course, the person was rejected. In the meantime, I went back to Vienna. That's where I was working. So one day I received a phone call and said, "Oh, Michael, please, can you go back to Warsaw for 3 months, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Yes, I will go back to Warsaw, but not for 3 months, for the full posting, 2 years. And it's one level up, and I want to be promoted to that position." They had no choice. They said, "Okay." So I went to Warsaw, and I received a telex that I was going to be interviewed for the position. So I go to the ambassador. He was a lovely person, and he said, "What? How can you be interviewed by phone in Warsaw? The authorities will listen to your interview, will analyze your interview, blah, blah, blah." So the ambassador says, no, Mr. Kazan doesn't have any objection to being interviewed, even though he was promised the position. But either take him to Vienna or Berlin and interview him there. The respondent said, the questions are going to be generic, not specific to the job in Warsaw. So the call comes through. The first question, to break the ice, was, "How many people work for you, Mr. Kazan?" I said, "What? What are you asking?" He said, "If you're referring, and I'm sure you're referring to the locally engaged staff, open the file and find out." So, I got a promotion, but it was not gazetted. I was being paid at the higher level, and I said, "Alexis, what's happening with my promotion? Why has not been gazetted?" I finished my posting, the 2 years. I went back to Australia. I said, "What's happening?" They lost the report from my interview. And they said, again, "With your accent." I said, "Oh, now you remember my accent." Again. I said, "Can you put it in writing?" Because it was my word against theirs. So the following week, my promotion was gazetted.
Your promotion was what?
Yeah, my promotion,
It
yes.
was approved
Yeah,
or rejected.
yeah.
Approved.
What happened to the papers? Did they find them? So, and this is, why, as Annette said that I had a very interesting thing, because in the public service, it was the Anglo-Saxon mentality. You're Anglo-Saxon, yes, you go ahead. You're not, stay where you are.
So how long were you in the public service?
25 years.
25 years. Far out. It's a long time.
The only thing was that at the end, when I was diagnosed with RSI, I was offered a golden handshake. So I retired at the age of 59.
So you got a good golden handshake.
Yeah, so
Back in those days.
it was my last day in the public service was Melbourne Cup Day in '99, and everybody, they have the luncheon and whatever was the race, etc. No, I was working because I had something to do, and it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I was still working. My boss comes and says, "Michael, I know, I'm sorry, but this report has to be done. Can you do it before you go?" So I left at 1 o'clock on Saturday morning after completing the. And the thing was also when I was when I went to Warsaw as a migration officer, Czechoslovakia, what was Czechoslovakia then, now two countries, but anyway, was under my jurisdiction. We didn't have an embassy there, so we were working out of the British embassy. So the first time I went there, before getting there, I made an appointment to go and see the ambassador and thank him for allowing us to use their premises, etc., etc. And of course, I put it in my report. And the response was, how did he, did the British ambassador understand what you were talking about?
So how did you put up with that?
Huh?
How did you put up with that all the time?
I was used to it. I said, who cares, I'll do my job, I'll get paid, so.
What about the people? Were you? Did you get?
I mean,
on
to
with the
start with, I was selected to go to Greece, to go to Athens,
people? You're kidding.
and I never got there. After me, there are other people of Greek background who were sent to Greece. But I was going to be the first Greek ever to go back to Greece to represent Australia. Never mind. But, you know, those things, I talk about them, but I don't really care anymore. It doesn't bother me. So, you're not recorded all this, are you?
The friends that you made in the public service, did you make any friends?
Sorry?
Did you make any friends in the public service?
I made friends, I suppose, people who had a similar background to mine, not an Anglo-Saxon
So all ethnic.
background. So, yes, of course I made friends, and the thing is, people I served the same time with them in Paris or in Vienna. Because they knew what the problems were and things like that. Yes, of course I made a lot of friends. Yeah. So.
Were there many Greeks?
There was only one because, as it happened at the time, I was with the translation service, and it was when the Galbally report was written, and it had to be translated into all community languages. So, but there was such an enormous job. They have to bring people from other states as well. And somebody brought from Melbourne, yeah. And actually, we both had applied for the same position in Athens, and I was selected. He was the first runner-up. But then he went to London, and I went to Paris.
Paris sounds good.
Then when I was in Paris, I visited him in London, and he visited me in Paris.
The Canberra Greeks that you hear,
Yes.
that you meet here, were they different to the other Greeks that you met in other cities, in other places of the world?
Yes, they were, because you see, the thing was that most of the Greeks of Canberra, before coming to Canberra, they were in small towns, worked very hard, made a bit of money, they moved to Canberra, and really what I was impressed of was how much importance they put in the education of their children. So they would do everything for their children. So, and really, in a way, Uh, I don't think they worked so much on their Greekness. They would rather keep it a low profile because they wanted really to be accepted in the wider Australian community, which I can understand. And one thing which surprised me when I first came to Australia was how many Greeks were part of Masons. They were in the masonry, whatever you call it.
Freemasons. The Freemasons.
Freemasons, yes. And I was wondering why.
Why?
But then I thought about it. Because of their hard work, financially, they were quite well off. But socially, because of the lack of knowledge of the language, etc., were not. So by joining Freemasons, and they sat next to a lawyer, next to an accountant, opposite a doctor, so that in their minds brought their profile, if you like, social profile, higher. I can understand, you know, which other reason. Because honestly, I don't think they understood what was going on during the meetings because of their limited knowledge of
Freemasonry.
exactly. So
My dad was in the Freemasons.
huh?
My dad was in it too.
Yeah.
But I think it's also in a country town where these people came from, didn't have a church, a Greek church.
Yes.
Didn't have a Greek school. It was all Australians.
Yes.
Or Catholic or...
Yeah.
Then to come to Canberra and all of a sudden maybe there's a Greek church or one being talked about. Let's build a church. Let's build a club.
Yeah.
I think
You see, because you see, the thing is that the church kept Greeks together. Because if you look in all major things in the Greek history, the religions which brought people together more than anything else. So, and the other thing is, I mean, it was a necessity to meet people from your country or even from your specific part of Greece and talk to them, they talk to you, reminiscing of what was happening, especially big days and things like that, like Christmas, New Year, Easter, the 15th of August, for example, and then, of course, the Greek national days. And the unfortunate thing was that when these associations were formed, they never brought their children in
really.
when they were young. So, and especially in Victoria, in Melbourne, there are so many Greek associations in name with so much, accumulated so much wealth in properties and things like this, and nobody cares anymore. Nobody wants to take over because there is not that need. You see, their children, their grandchildren, they have different ways of communication. They have different interests. So look what's happening. And in Canberra, we're blessed because we're very few migrants, people of migrant background, and we're not in a position to financially buy properties and things like this, and that forced that need of meeting among ourselves created the need for the Hellenic Club, and that's why the Hellenic Club we have in Canberra, they don't have it anywhere else, not only in Australia, in the world. Because the efforts of all people were put for one particular thing, rather than the Mytileneans who have their own club, people from Rhodes, people from Crete, people from Cyprus, etc., etc. So that was a blessing in disguise. That it was such a small number of people of Greek and Cypriot migrant background.
Fascinating.
I mean, the other thing is the Hellenic Club was successful not only because it got the support of all Greeks, but also because it opened the doors to everybody. Look what happened to the other ethnic clubs. They're all closed. I don't think they exist anymore.
Is the German club still going?
Oh, not the German club, yes. The German club is still going. The other one? Another one. But the Austrian, the Croatian, these and that, where are they? Where are they now?
Well, certainly the multicultural club, isn't it?
Of course, yes. And also it has to do a lot to do with the Greek hospitality. I think Greeks are more open to other nationalities than the others. We're very proud of being Greeks, but at the same time, I mean, we don't think that, only Greeks and nobody else.
We don't think we're better.
I think we're better in that respect, yes. Of course, quite often you hear remarks, racist remarks about other nationalities, like Kinezo and all this, but really it's more superficial. It's not something that...
It's about respect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Respect is a big word.
So...
In Australia, it's respect and responsibility. The two Aboriginal, so not only respect, self-respect, is respect for the country,
Yeah.
and other people, and being responsible for your actions.
Yeah, well...
Is that true to Greek?
Well, to be honest, I don't think that Greeks had a good knowledge of what happened to Aboriginals by the Anglo-Saxon invaders, because to me it was an invasion. Right?
Well, it's not a word for it.
And the thing is, I mean, what happened in the past, now what's happening now? Right, in the past they gave them medicine, through medicine, whatever, to get rid of them. Now they give them money, they make them alcoholics. That's a different way of getting rid of these people. And because of their culture, right, one would have thought that regardless, because you see, one of the things is that because of the discrimination faced by migrants at the beginning, that discrimination had a very positive, if you like, push to these people. Oh, you're Greeks. I'll show you. Yes, I'm Greek. I'll show you who I am and what can I do. Right? Yes, I'm Italian. I'll fix you up, don't worry. Through hard work, etc. Right? So as far as the little I understand about it, with the Aborigines, because of their culture, they couldn't really stick together and say, look, yes, I'm Aboriginal, so? What's the difference between you and me? And the thing was that the children, go to go hospital. Most of the doctors now are of what are they're not Anglo-Saxon, right? It's because of the push of the parents, work very hard, etc. That's something that the Aboriginal culture, as the little I understand, did not really push for. Go, educate, because the only one you can, people can survive only through education in instances like this. So the number of educated Aborigines as opposed to the number of educated people of migrant background, because Aborigines are not refugees. They're natives to this country.
The
Yeah?
biggest difference, I think, is the greatest tragedy
Yeah.
is the families got separated.
Yes.
So the kids, the mothers and the fathers, the kids were taken off and sent our way. All of them sent away. We want to re-educate them.
Yeah.
So that just tore them apart.
Yeah.
Imagine if it happened.
I mean,
imagine
look,
if that happened to the Greeks.
It's the
coming in.
same with sex. What do you call it?
Equality.
Yes. Now, in 2024, we're talking about men and women, two different things. Honestly, what? How can, and this is going to go still, things are improving, but so slowly. We're still men-dominated society.
Yeah, well, getting back to what I was saying,
Yeah.
I think their great tragedy is the family was split.
Is what?
Split.
Yes.
Split down the middle. The kids
Yeah.
were separated
Yeah.
and it destroyed the family.
Yes.
Destroyed the mothers and the grandmothers.
Yes.
Now, in Aboriginal society, the women played a very important role. Probably more important than the men.
Oh, yes.
Um,
For sure.
But when they got their kids taken away, they lost control.
Yes.
They're not, were not there for their children. And their children were put into these homes, dormitories, boarding schools, prisons,
Yes.
and were still, they weren't there with their mother saying, oh, Mum, I want this and that. And Mum says, They weren't that. Instead, it was prison guards, always people who didn't care,
Yeah.
or abused them. And that was our great tragedy. And you compare that with what you're talking about, was the Greeks coming here and putting their families first,
Yes.
and giving their families everything that they needed, what they thought,
Yes.
school,
Yes.
education, language, culture.
Of course.
I think that's not only our tragedy with the Aboriginals, but also our achievements as a
Yeah.
community, which I think hopefully in time we'll reverse that.
Well, but it looks like it will take time. When we talk about another race, especially Turks, for example, or Greeks, we're talking about the worst parts. In a war, people become animals, beasts. Look what's happening now. Look what's happening in Palestine.
Hmm.
I mean, we're at the door of a third world war. For what? And the thing I can't understand is nobody can deny that the Jews suffered in Second World War with what happened, right? They're doing the same thing now to other people. They're trying to get rid of them, so there will be a very small number left of Palestinians left in Palestine or in Gaza. And so they won't have the power to do anything. In few months we have elections in USA.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a most unfortunate country? What choice do they have? Trump? Or the other one who doesn't know what is happening to him because of his age? And they had 4 years, 5 years, how long is the thing, to find somebody to replace this guy. If they were interested in...
At least he's way better than Trump.
Huh?
He's way better than Trump.
It is.
Yeah.
But the thing is that people, unfortunately, and I can't understand how people can like the way Trump talks. It makes you sick. I mean, only looking at him, as I said to you yesterday, I think, it's like vomiting.
Forget Trump. Back to Australia. Back
Yes.
to the war brings out the worst in us. Right? We're treating the Jews like the Jews are treating, in a way, also Australia, the way Australia treats the Aboriginals.
Yes.
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
Trying to
I
get rid
know.
of them. Yeah. They're still within 50% of our population, at least. They still would like to get rid of them
Yes.
somehow, shape or
Yeah.
form. Like the Jews are trying to get rid of.
Yeah.
So, what is it in with human nature where we look upon other people and then go, we'll get rid of them. We don't care about them. And yet another part of our human nature cares about them. Our humanity.
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, I think we become more and more selfish. We really care about our little world around it, so we don't really care what's happening next door. Or
So when things are tough, we get more greedy and more.
oh yeah,
we want more.
of course.
So
And the thing is, I mean, these people, British, are not going to get money out of our own pockets. Really? And the thing is, if the Australian government, right, really did the right job, there would not have been need to spend so much money on them. I mean, if you help somebody to grow up and become independent, then it's a profit for you more than for them. But they never think.
well, they did. They thought.
Well,
They thought we don't want the land. Let's take this land and take this land, and you can have all this land.
Take the land which is useless.
Yeah, yeah.
What happened to the major parts
Yeah.
of, if there is,
So back to the Greeks here in Canberra. What I've learnt, what I most admired, is certain people go out of their way and do so much for other people. The Glendies is an example where they'll work the whole weekend
yes,
and putting themselves last, but putting it out for other people. Old people, right through to young people, the kids coming through. And you go, it's an important lesson for us to, like the church says, do unto others and give to do, and you will get. So that seems to be what you were doing at the Lenny Club. You were going out of your way to give. You got back, but you gave so much.
Yeah.
And I think that's something to do with the Greek spirit.
Yes.
So you tell me, in your words.
Look, can we stop a bit?
Yeah, sure. You've done well.
You know,
You've done really well.
I'm still overwhelmed with the video I watched. You have no idea what the impact of that video got on me this morning. I can't help it, but my mind is on the video. Because, as I said, I don't even remember, or slowly I started remembering, oh, no, it was downstairs where I had my classes first. Oh, yes, I remember this person. Oh, yes, I remember. Oh, still I don't remember. Who was she? That's in my mind still going. So we better stop. And
yeah, well, the whole video thing that I've been working on is called Remembering. It always comes back to you, you know, when you go, and honouring, by remembering your honour.
yeah.
So go and have a cigarette, you deserve it.
Yeah, I'm going to have another cigarette.
So, Mr. Kazan, how are you feeling now? After your shower?
I feel rejuvenated in a way. Yes, even still my mind is on the what we talked about before, but now I feel a bit more confident in talking and less because really, as I explained to you many times, for me today was a special day, and so it brings back. It helped me to bring back memories which they were there, but in a quiet way now there, and I feel more like talking more, thinking of what I still can do and things like that, which is something I didn't really expect to happen. I thought just simply visiting Canberra because I lived here for 43 years.
And that's it, huh? You didn't think much was going to happen, huh? You didn't think much was going to happen?
Yes, I'm thinking that I still got things to do that I can do, and it will be really to the benefit of the Greek community in Canberra, because the Greek community in Canberra has achieved a lot, and I don't think they have a fully recognized of their contribution to the to maintaining the Greek culture in Canberra. So I was thinking again, looking at your videos about the Hellenic dances and the celebrations, which in a way pleasantly surprised me, because it seemed that they were getting better than just continuing just a simple routine. Well, Monday night we'll go we take our children for the Greek dancing, but the enthusiasm, and especially for the younger people now,
It's brilliant, isn't it?
it's really amazing. And it's often I thought, oh, probably they do this, they bring their children for the Greek dancing more, not sort of for the children and for the dancing, but meeting themselves and talking, socializing. It's much more than that, and it's become very obvious the way now the Hellenic dancers perform, and that was probably the best vehicle to maintain this enthusiasm and feeling even more proud of their Greek background, all these youngsters.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Hmm?
It's brilliant.
I'm sure it's brilliant. It's, as I said, I was very, very impressed because I was helping for this enthusiasm to be maintained, and I'm very glad to see that it has grown rather than being diminishing. So,
Have you seen that in other places?
no.
In
Because
Greece?
when I was the president of the Association of People from Kaloni, I tried to use that, or I made a proposal, things like this, but it went up like a lead balloon.
Really, lead balloon. You see, why?
You see, people have changed. That is, it's very hard to explain. And I'm talking to my people of my age and things like that. Well, many years ago, when the association was still just established, they brought their children, they observed national days, etc., etc. Now they seem that, and I was trying to find ways to bring the young people in, but not as part of the association, but just people who were born or their parents were born and lived in Colony, and make them become friends and run their own show, if you like. Just a meeting once in a while, just having a drink.
They didn't connect.
They didn't connect, no. That connection completely is absent in Greece, while here, through the dancing, I think the Hellenic dances keeps going on and becoming stronger. I don't think this will ever stop in Canberra. And also, when you watch the youngsters dancing, either with the Hellenic Club or some other activity, they're very proud of doing it. They're not really shy. They don't really care if they do the steps properly or they're very good dancers. The important fact for them is the participation in the group, which is really amazing, and you don't see it anywhere else.
And what's that? What is it? Where does it come from? What is it? Is that Greek fire we're talking about?
Yes, it's the Greek spirit. It's also that pride that people now, they don't try to hide their background. I suppose things have changed. People became more open to different cultures, different nationalities, things like that. And I think that now, and more, I can talk about the Greeks more than other nationalities, but what they were embarrassed for before, their cultural background, they're very proud of. And they don't try to hide it anymore. I mean, before, if you could hear people talking with a very hard Australian accent, you knew they were children of migrants.
Is that right?
Yes, because they thought their accent, the broad Australian accent, will make them be accepted as Australians rather than as children of migrants. So I'm pretty sure, I mean, if you're anywhere where there is a lot of people and talking, as I said, if you hear a very hard Australian accent, you turn around and look, you will see that they're not Anglo-Australians, let's put that, Anglo-Saxon background.
Wow.
So,
I guess the legacy that these kids have inherited
yes.
is from the migrants that came out and went to the country towns and eventually came to Canberra and
Yes.
created the community.
Yes.
Is now being paid off.
Of course.
Tell me about that.
Because you see, the thing is that unfortunately, people put a lot of weight as to if you're a public servant, what level you are, if you're in the business, how successful you are. Because I remember when I first arrived, when I used to meet people, the first question was where I lived, what car I drove, things like that. Now, I don't think anymore this applies. I was only a few months in Canberra, in Australia, and I was in a cocktail party. I can't remember how I was invited and whatever. So, and I was somebody came and asked me where I lived. And at the time I was staying at the university house. But because I got sick of that question, where do you live? When they asked me, where do you live, Michael, or Mr. Kazan, as was my name then, rather than saying at the university house, deliberately, I said Acton. At Acton was a hostel. And the person walked away. But I don't think this will happen today. So, of course, later, somebody else came and says, oh, Michael, how does a university house treating you? And the person who asked the question before and then walked away came back to talk to me because he heard I was staying at the university house. So, and we have to admit that there was a lot of discrimination against migrants in the 70s when I came to Australia, and I'm sure before and after. So, yeah, I don't think, for example, if you talk to quite well-known now lawyers of Greek origin, they will be embarrassed about or don't talking about their background. While before, they will try to hide it. So things are changing for the better, I'm sure. And because of that acceptance, now as successful lawyers, accountants, doctors, whatever, then it has become even easier for them to talk about their background, where before they will try to avoid that those topics. So, and even, I mean, as I said before, when I first came, my surname was Kazanzoglu. But I said,
What?
it was Kazanzoglu.
Kazan Soroglu.
Yes. And because, I mean, every time I went to the bank, for example, I had to spell my name 15 times and things like that, to the point that, in a way, I was forced to change it, and fortunately, I shortened it rather than changing, because I remember I was talking when the time came for me to become an Australian citizen. I was told that I could change my name. A lot of some of my Greek friends said, "Oh, change it to what? Casey." Casey? I don't look like a Casey. I don't sound like a Casey. What do you mean? So,
The cultural advisor of the Hellenic Club, Michael Casey.
Michael Casey, exactly.
Doesn't work, does it?
Yes, because I've got
You chose well, I think.
yeah,
Kazan was
because
perfect.
relatives of my first wife, their surname, I can't remember now. It was Mastrakoulis, and they changed it to Massas. So, and she was Australian born. So at the same time she went to the bank and she asked, she was asked what was her name, and she said Masters. And the person behind the counter said, "How do you spell it?"
Okay, back to the Canberra
Yes.
community. In one word, what did they do that was different to everybody else?
Sorry?
One word
Yes.
describes the Canberra community, their greatest strength. They were able to build. What was the one word that you would describe that? How did they build
The importance of family.
family?
The importance of family. They realized their limitations, especially lack of education, because most of the people who came in the 50s, for example, they had very, most of them they didn't even have finished primary school. And they tried to keep their families together. They used to get together quite often, name days, christenings, weddings, even funerals. So they, yes, that was family was the most important thing for them.
And in terms of building the community, what's the word?
In building the community, I think the working together. Because of the limited number, when I came to Australia in the 1970, probably were about 5,000 people of Greek origin. Yes, yeah, working together. I mean, the best proof is the creation of the Hellenic Club. There were things, I remember, for example, when they started, they got the block of land in Warden, trying to find ways of raising money and things like this. How all these people work together to become a foundation member. I think it was about $300. Now, in 1970, $300 was a lot of money, and especially for me, because the first job I got was as a postman, and my annual salary was $4,200. So $300 was a lot of money. So I suggested them to look, why don't we do it 150, and I will try to find more people to join, to become foundation members. So they didn't agree with my proposal. So that goes for me a bit, because it was creating different levels of society, if you like. But now looking back, that was not a bad idea,
No,
because there
yeah,
were
yeah,
people who could afford that amount of money. So,
Beautiful story.
yeah.
So you were involved with the club right from the beginning.
It wasn't from the beginning, but then because of this, and because of, don't know what to say. Anyway, they didn't. On the one hand, they accepted me and they appreciate what I was doing, because I started teaching Greek, the Greek community school from day one. But the same, my economic level was not the same what they expected and things like that. Another example is that when they had the first debutante ball, so Mrs. Kondouris had undertaken to teach the youngsters for the debut, the dance, and they won't listen to her and things like that, because it's very difficult for her. So at the time, it was also when the youth club was first established, and because I was teaching them Greek dancing, so they came to me and said, "Oh, Michael, can you teach the debutantes?" So I said, "Oh yes, what would you like me to teach them? Zorba the Greek or Kalabatiano?" I said, "No, the Pride of Eran." I said, "What? What's this?"
So you didn't do good. You didn't do.
Yes, so I had to go to a dancing school to learn the Pride of Eran, to teach the debutantes and their partners. I suggested, I said, "Look, we're trying to raise money. Why don't we, after the young girls do their debut and things like this, why don't we sell flowers for the ladies?" And I said, "What?" I said, yes, flowers." I said, "Oh, how much money we're going to get?" I said, "I'm sure we'll get a lot of money. You will see." No, we don't know. We'll think about it." And but as stubborn as I am, so I went and ordered beautiful orchids and beautiful baskets. So and I said to them, "Here they are." So the girls could go out. We don't put a price. People give as much as they want. So the girls, after the debut, went around, and we gathered an enormous amount of money. I think about $3,000. $3,000 in, because 1973, I think, I don't remember now, the exact year. So after that, the committee had a meeting, and they invited me. And they said, "Oh, how much did you spend, Michael?" I had spent $87.40. I still remember. So they said, "Oh, here, from that money collected from the sale of the flowers, this is the money you spent on the flowers, and here, from that money, here's $300 for you to pay and become a foundation member." And I took it as an offense.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I said, I can't afford. I didn't do this. I did that to raise money for the club. I don't want to take from that money to put it back. And that was another reason I withdrew. I didn't get
took offense,
actively involved. And later, I was in Morocco, and it was time for election. And he said, Michael, we don't have anybody who can take it as a president. Why don't you put your name down? I said, I'm not even a member, just a normal member. He takes out his wallet, takes out $300, and he said, you go and become a member now. And that completely thought, oh, sugar, forget it. Let's do whatever they want to do. So, but was much later than I decided to. I said, no, Michael, look, put your pride aside. Now it's time you get involved with the Hellenic Club. And it was also the time that I had retired from public service, and I was only 59. And okay, I had problem with my arms and with my hands, but otherwise I was sure that I could offer a lot of things. So I went to the club, and I went straight to the CEO. Can't remember even his name. So I said to him, look, I'm Michael Kazan. I was a public servant. I'm teaching at the Greek school, blah, 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 etc., etc. I propose that we start organizing Greek lessons for the people of children of Greek origin, etc., etc., and anybody who wanted to learn the language. I plan to do that. We should do that. We should do that. He got up. I will never forget. He was sitting there with the computer in front of him. I was sitting here. He gets up, says, Michael, can you sit in my chair and just put on a dot point what you told me? And you start work on Monday.
Beautiful.
So and from then I got very much involved. Because the hours I spent in the Hellenic Club were incredible. I was the first one to arrive there and the last one to leave. So practically. But the thing is, as I said, people from the beginning, they accepted me. They appreciate what I was doing. I mean, it started when I started teaching Greek at the Greek community school. Everybody was inviting me, everybody was talking to me, everybody respected and appreciated what I was doing. And of course, that gave me the stamina to continue and try to do the best I could. So.
Did you have a problem with your ego?
Sorry?
At one stage there you had a problem with your ego. You got felt humiliated.
Yeah. No, it was humiliated when, because of my economic situation.
Well, you took
They
offense.
meant well. They didn't mean to put me down. But unfortunately, I took it as humiliating.
Yeah. And I would use that as your ego was coming into play.
I felt very proud of what I was doing. I'm more proud the way people accepted and appreciated what I was doing. So my ego never was an issue. I never thought to myself, oh, look, Michael, you're doing well. No.
Yeah. I guess it's lead to the word that it is service.
Mm.
You put yourself in a position where you're doing a lot of service. You believe in what you're doing, and you're
Yeah.
doing.
But you see, the thing is, when you decide to do something, and that something is quite successful, is you get more back than what you give.
Tell me about that.
Uh, you see, for example, I mean, now, when we arrived this time at the club, and it was Anastasia there and the other girls, Anthea, and they started talking to me. The way they talk to me, their warmth, their... Really, that for me was the best could ever happen to me. That people still remember me and still remember what I did. You know, it's a great feeling to think that you've been away for more than 10 years, and these people were little children then, or very young, teenagers, and still think and appreciate and remember what I've done. That's very rewarding.
Yeah, very special.
I mean, also, when I came to Canberra 7 years ago, it happened to arrive and go to the club, of course. I tell, where you picked me up from the airport, we went, he said, where do you want to go? I said, the club, of course, where else? And it was the day that the board met. So while I was at the door, all the board members were there, and the first thing they said, I mean, apart from their faces, smiling and happy, whatever, oh, you're back. Welcome back. You know, what more do you want? I mean, when you do things because you've got an inner need to do something, to help, to do service to the wider society. And then when you realize that really the people appreciate you, what you've done, what more you want? I mean, I said, no, I'm visiting. I'm not, I didn't come back.
So, of the people you met during this time you're here, what did you learn from them? The old people, the ones that pass the legacy on that you're talking about.
People I met to the club, you mean?
Yeah, no, the community.
Yes. What exactly?
Well, they've served. They're spending years serving the community.
Yes.
In different ways.
Yes.
Right. Did you learn anything from them? Were you inspired by them? You must have.
Well, let's put it this way. And in all humility, was one of the few educated Greeks in Canberra. Okay? So, and people trusted me and discussed with me personal issues. And especially when it came to the children, because a lot of children had problems in their schooling. And the problems were attributed to the fact that they spoke another language at home. So the teachers never looked into the issue how these people feel and why these children react the way they did. And I've got a specific example. There were two families, and they had one boy each at primary school. So, and the reports were very bad, etc. They went to parents' teachers' night or whatever. And the teachers in front of everybody to told that the children are behaving very badly, etc., etc. So these two families came to me and said, Michael, we have great problems with our children at school. I said, what's the problem? She says, oh, they get very bad remarks, very bad marks, etc., etc. I said, which school they go to? They told me the school. So I rang the school. I said, can I come and sit in one of the classes? Okay? One child, one boy, was sitting in the front row. The other one in the last row. The one in the front row, when the teacher was talking, was doing this. The other one, when the teacher was talking or writing on the board, he was scribbling on his notebook. When do you do this? When you don't hear, you can't hear properly. And when you do this, because you can't see, you can't copy from the board. So I said, look, this boy, he has a hearing problem, and this child has an eyesight problem. The answer was, what are you, a doctor? So when I went, finished, thank you very much for letting me sitting in, etc., etc., I want to talk to the parents. So we went, one boy got hearing aid, the other boy got glasses. And they became normal students. So after that, and people talk, I said, oh, you have this problem. No, we don't have any problem with the children. So apart from being a teacher, they didn't have any teaching qualifications, then I became a social worker. And for me, that gave me great pleasure that people trusted me to come and discuss their family issues and things like that. So, and this gave me more, increased my will to offer, to help people, because people appreciated of what I was doing for them. So, really, I mean, I will never forget. Of course I will never forget, but really, I'm grateful to God that I became a migrant in Australia and especially in Canberra. It was a blessing for me. Even people could understand, oh, why did you leave Greece and you come to Australia, you don't have any relatives, you don't have anybody, what do you want to do here? So,
I think Canberra got blessed with you when you came too.
sorry?
Canberra got blessed. Not only you got blessed, Canberra got blessed.
Well,
Again,
as I
you
said, I did the best I could. And the thing is that I did it with pleasure. Nobody forced me, nobody asked me to do it. It was, and again, watching, we always go back to this video I watched this morning, just to look at the faces of the people, most of whom I don't know even their names, because we were talking about years ago. But it was obvious even on their faces that they were appreciating what I was doing.
Yeah. So, man, Canberra got blessed when you came.
Well, the blessing was mutual, I suppose.
Well, again, the latest reports coming through worldwide. They rate the cities in the world. And Canberra's number 10, the worst city for no soul. You understand? Has
Yes.
no soul.
Yes.
But it's people like you that have given Canberra the soul. I mean, it hasn't got a
Well,
soul. But it has,
You're too complimentary.
When you look at it from the Greek community, I'm not being complimentary, it's fact, you know. You see it on the faces. As you said, you see it on the
You see,
faces. It's on the faces of the, anyway.
Yeah. To go back now, when I was in Greece and became the president, once a year, on the 16th of August every year, we have what we call the reunion, because a lot of people had left Colony and the surrounding towns, went to Athens or over other countries, etc. So in summer they come for their holidays, and there is this specific event. So, and Colony, the town itself, does not offer itself because there's no a big square, big area where you could hold an activity. Okay? So we go to the port, with Scala Colonies, where there's a very big area, very good restaurants and cafeterias around. So we organize the dinner dance. People can sit and have a coffee if they want to, or an ice cream, or have a meal, or whatever. They pay for whatever they eat or drink. But some of the people from Colony, they didn't like the idea of holding this activity there, even though it's only 1 kilometer away from Colony, really. So, and there were some people who were they raised their voices quite strongly. So, but, and one of them, and I was pretty sharp with him, I said, this event takes place every year. Have you been to any of those events? Wherever, if they were done in Colony or just there is a little church, chapel outside, only 200 meters from the center. Have you ever been to one of them? He said, no. So why are you complaining then? If why it takes place here or it doesn't take place there? And explain to you why. Because the association, any association to survive, needs some financial support, some money. Rather than coming to you and say, oh look, give me some money for the association and become a beggar, organize something and I will sell raffle tickets. If the event takes place where we are organized, we'll have 3,000 people. If we have it somewhere here, we'll have 100 and 150 people. How much money we're going, let's be realistic, how much money we're going to raise by having it here or there? So at the end he said, look, I didn't agree with this, but I must admit that you know how to run things and you know how to get people together. And it was the best compliment I could ever had, because I managed to, through this activity, to do
How
some...
much you raise?
Hmm?
How much did you raise?
From the raffle ticket, 3,500 euros, about $5,000. And you wanted to buy a raffle ticket, and I managed to get all the prices for free, donations. If you want to, you don't have to, but can you help, please? So, and you want to eat lobster? Eat lobster. Do you want to have a coffee or an ice cream? Have an ice cream. Do you have to have a piece of pizza? Have a piece of pizza. Enjoy, listen to Greek music, get up and dance.
You had a problem working with people? Have you had a problem working with people?
No, I don't like people who do things to their own benefit because they're trying to get something themselves rather than giving. These people I can't put up with. And I'll make it quite clear. And I get such people in the committee. I said, look, nobody forced you to be a member of the committee. You want to be a member of the committee. Why? All the associations now are dying off because the young people have got different ways of entertainment, different things to do, etc. So, if you want to be a member of the committee, you have to work. And you have to work for the association, not for yourself. I mean, one of the members, for example, she's a dietitian. The first time she came, she started selling her books. I said, hold on. What's the association going to gain from this? Either some of the money you give to the association or go and sell them somewhere else. You don't sell them in events organized for the organization. But I must admit that I had differences with people because of different way of thinking, etc. But I don't think that anybody cannot say that I did my best. For whatever I was doing. And no for personal benefit or gain. So, I mean, even if you ask people who are not my supporters, let's put it that way, what do you think of Michael Kazan? I don't think they will find bad things to say. True?
What do you think of Michael Kazan?
Huh?
What do you think of Michael Kazan?
I think Michael Kazan was a very clever, a very lucky person. Lucky person. Michael Kazan was given a lot of opportunities, not for his own gain or whatever, but to do whatever he felt doing. And Michael Kazan always was and is and will be a giving person. In all humility, the community comes first and Michael Kazan comes last.
Has it always been the way? Has that always been the way?
I think so. Yes.
It's in your nature.
And that's what I took from my family,
Tell me
from
about that.
parents. Yeah.
What were they like?
My father was a cheese maker. Okay, he made the best yogurt in town. Everybody still talks about it. And last time I was in Kalani, in the morning I went to have a cup of coffee. And there was an older lady there. And she said, "Oh, you must be Michael." I said, "Yes, but I don't know you." Said, "No, I know you don't, but I know you. And I knew very well your parents. And the only thing I could say, they were beautiful people." Everybody thinks so highly of my parents. And that the best thing I got out of being the president of this association, because I met people whom I haven't seen, I never met in my life before. and everybody spoke so highly of my parents and my brother and my sisters. Nobody said anything bad about my family. And talking about giving, I said my father was a cheese maker. So, and every year he will rear 3 pigs. Now, which he will feed with the thing which comes out of the cheese. When you make the cheese, part of the milk sets to cheese, and the rest is what do we call it? Like
Curd.
yes. So I was feeding the pigs with this. So they were enormous, and the fat was about that big. So he will slaughter them 2 or 3 days before Christmas. Okay? So we had pork only once a year on Boxing Day. Pork was never, my parents never cooked pork. Anyway, so one pork will be cut in pieces and pickled with salt so that is used during the year when the shepherds brought the milk in the morning to the factory. My mother will cook breakfast for them. They will bring the eggs. She will put and always will make fried eggs and salted pork.
Salted pork.
Okay, that was one. The other one, my father will sell to a butcher. And the third one, he will be cut in pieces, put in bags, and on Christmas Eve, the day before Christmas, 5 o'clock in the morning, winter, little Michael had to go around houses of poor people and leave the bag with the meat.
Okay.
If somebody, because our house was opposite the church, it was in the center of the town, so a lot of people. If my mother or father saw somebody who was aged or looked poor or whatever, always invite and give them something to eat.
Invite them in the house to give
In the
something to
house,
eat.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So invite into the family.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah. And the thing is, now it's like talking about myself and I don't really like it, but when the refugees came by thousands from the islands to Athens, and I used to go to Piraeus or Platia Amerikis, where all they gathered, and look at them. When I saw a family with little children, I'll invite them to my place, give them a shower, let them wash their clothes, cook dinner for them, let them sleep one night in my apartment. It was wall-to-wall carpet, wall-to-wall beds, right? And in the morning, I'll take them to the Greek authorities, help them, and have always somebody who spoke English with me, and they're in either Arabic or whatever language, right? And that was the arrangement from the beginning. I explained to them that they can stay only one night with me, right? So the next day, I'll go. And I have friends all over the world now, all over Europe. So
in a way, that's come from your father and mother.
yes, definitely. Yes.
Tell me about your mum, your mother.
Okay. My mother, he was a very difficult person.
That's where you get it from.
Obviously. So, her father, when he married first, the first year, his wife, obviously he was much older,
Yeah.
because he was quite well established. He had a factory making materials for clothes and leather, another one. So he got married. His wife was 14 years old. Didn't have a child the first year, so he decided to adopt a child. And then my grandmother gave birth to 16 children. 16. And the adopted one, 17. In 1913, things started getting bad in just before the First World War. Things started getting bad in Turkey, so they came to Mytilene.
So they were in Turkey, yeah? In Smyrna? Or
From Adramit, which is northwest of Turkey. They suffered a lot with so many children.
Mm-hmm.
So they went back, and in 1922, when there was the exchange of population, they said to the children, "You go, we're going to stay here." So, out of the 17 children, the parents, the servants, etc., only 3 children survived.
really? 3?
My mother, her sister, who was older, and she was married, already had 3 children, and she took my mother, who was about 15, 16 years old, to carry her children, and one brother. So, can you imagine? And the youngest child at the time was 7 years old, and his name was Petraki. And he heard what the parents, my grandparents, said, that you go, will stay. She said to my mother, "Sophia, take me with you, don't leave me here." But my mother couldn't, because she was only 15, 16 years old, and her mother and her sister and her sister's husband said, "There's no way we're going to take another small child with us." So my mother never forgave herself for not taking the little, and that would make her a very unhappy person for the entire life. And you can imagine,
Can't imagine.
you know, what a burden, what a thing was for her that, you know. That's why she never wanted to go back to Turkey. She had to go back to Turkey to see what? My parents will not be there, my brothers and sisters will not be there, my friends will not be there. Unlike my father, who was the only child, and his father had passed away when my father was only 2 years old. His mother never remarried. And they managed in 1922 separately to go to Greece, and my father looked everywhere. Eventually he found his mother. He always wanted to go back to his birthplace. So in 1983 I took him back,
Oh, good.
and we found his house. And there was no doubt that it was his house, because when we arrived in Aksar or Aksari in Greek, the place, when in 1922, the population was about 35,000 people. So when we went in 1983, it was 350,000. So it looked entirely different. It was very difficult. So, but we managed to find the place. It's a very long story, and I'm going to publish it. I've already written it, the story. After we went into we were invited to the house, we were offered coffee, etc., etc. Opposite there was a cafeteria. So, and the taxi driver, and also we took another taxi with another 4 people of similar age to my father to help us find the place. I said to my father, let's go to the cafeteria, offer drink to these people, and then while are organizing to give them a small tip, my father spoke very good Turkish. So he started talking about what the neighborhood looked like 60 years ago or more, and how the whole city looked like. And it was the time that people were finishing work, so people passing by saw my father talking. They came there, and it was full. So after a while, an older lady pushes her way through, sees my father, embraces him, and kisses him. And I said to my father, I said, Dad, who is this old lady? In Turkish, of course, I didn't understand a word. The only word I could understand was Chrysanthi, the name of my grandmother. And then I said to my father, I heard, how did she remember you after all these years? Again, the only word I understood was Kazan, which means eyes. My father had blue eyes. So, my grandmother was a chef, and she was cooking for rich Turkish families when they had what do they do, the boys when they're 11 years old?
Yeah. Castration.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thinking afterwards, probably this old woman was in love with my father because we were in the same neighborhood, right? But these days, how you could say, look, to meet this, and especially my father being Greek and her being Turkish. So there was no doubt whatsoever that was his neighborhood, that was his own, the house we were invited was his house, etc. And my father, after we were offered the coffee, etc., he had envelopes in his pocket with money in it. He had exactly the right number of envelopes because in that house lived a couple, 2 children, and the mother of the woman, of the wife. And he had exactly. And he said, this is for you, this is for you, this is for you, this is for the children. And this is for the husband, because the husband was still working. How could he know how many people lived in the house?
Why did he give him money?
Just a little present. He said, I didn't know what to bring you, what to give you, so that's a little money just to buy something you really like.
So if the world had not gone crazy, you would have been born a Turk.
Huh? Well, I've been born in Turkey, yes. Yes.
Well, someone who's born in Turkey is called a Turk, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, somebody born. You see, that's the thing. Somebody, I mean, of Greek origin, if the parents are Greek, but the child is born in Australia, what's the child?
Australia.
He's in Australia.
Yeah.
Of Greek origin.
But in Turkey, you
Yes.
whatever.
You will be a Turk of Greek
Greek.
origin. So,
Far out. The story of the Russians, the great Russians that came got kicked out of Russia.
The thing was that in the western side of adjacent to the Aegean Sea, that was when Greeks really did very, very well. Smyrna, from Smyrna to Constantinople. But also there was a very strong Greek community in the Black Sea area, which is known as Pontus. And they were the first ones to suffer the
Russian Revolution?
sorry?
The Russian Revolution?
No, I'm talking now about the Turkish, the massacre, what you call the genocide. It started with the Armenians and continued with the Pontians. And then the rest of the Greeks in Asia Minor. So, and really there were, it's very, well, I suppose it's very difficult for me to speak about the Pontians because I have great respect for them because they maintain the customs. Even, I mean, Pontian Greek is very difficult for me to understand, or for most of the people to understand, because it's more closer to classical Greek than modern Greek. So, and the Pontians were very proud of their origin. Probably the most proud Greeks ever, and that's why it's the only Greeks who maintained and promote and whatever their custom, their culture, more than anybody, or people from Italy, or from Lesbos, or the Greek islands, or Crete, or whatever. And they were much more connected, much closer to each other, more than, I suppose, because they suffered a lot, and that brought them even more close. And which really surprises me is that watching Greek TV, for example, and names of artists, singers, or musicians, or composers, or whatever, with their, because you can tell where people come from, in most cases, from the ending of their surnames. Okay? And now, we are in 2024, and very well-known singers or composers, and say, oh, I'm Pontian. And they speak the language, the Pontian form of Greek. It's
The Pontian
amazing.
dances, and
I
I came across with Tom
yes.
Tom Evcapides being dying, and they came from Sydney to honour him and dance for him in his house. The Pontians, maybe 10, 15 of them. It was beautiful, very special.
Yeah.
Could you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course I understand.
So the genocide, what was that about? The genocide, what was that about?
Even though the Turks will never accept it as a genocide, but 1.5 million people.
Yeah, let's understand. For what reason?
And the thing was, what for? I mean, why? It starts with the Armenians, because the Armenians are the worst. And now, only recently, United States government recognized the genocide of Armenians. Right?
The Armenians.
Yes. So the next is the genocide of Greeks. Can you imagine Greece's population, Greece's population increased by close to 1.5 million overnight, over a week.
Is that right? Is that why they weren't welcome?
You see?
Yeah.
And the thing was, also Greeks from Turkey, refugees, were not well accepted by the Greeks
Mm.
of Greece. And I mean, it was the same in a way with Greeks in Canberra, with migrants in Canberra, for example. They were not, I mean, they built, but Greeks who came to Canberra, 2, 3 years, 4 years later, they bought a house, they bought this, they were doing this, they were doing that. Because they were working very hard. Nobody helped them to do. It was the same, I mean, with the food. How the Australian food has changed in the habits from the migrants. It was the same in Greece. Everybody's talking about the Greek music from Asia Minor, the Greek food from Asia Minor, the Greek this from Asia Minor.
Go back to where you come from.
Yeah, exactly.
We were lucky in Australia because of that.
Yes, of
We
course.
got the refugees.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, Germany, and especially Germany, Holland and the Scandinavian countries, etc. Why do you think they?
Don't make the noise.
Why do you think they accepted the refugees? Because they were young people.
Is that
Europe is aging.
Yeah. So that's why they accept
The
it.
Europeans do not produce children. But the refugees, we will.
Ah.
Factory fodder. Regeneration of the population. Why do you think? Because they felt sorry for the Syrians and the Afghans and the...
It's a beautiful story, isn't it?
Yeah. People who came to Australia, they didn't come here for adventure.
Yeah.
They came here to have their families, to work for it, to have a better future for themselves, for the children. Who built Australia?
Do you have any Turkish friends?
Huh?
Do you have any Turkish friends?
Yes, of course I do have. You know, and people I met through my brother, because my brother, as I told you, he has some units he rents, and there is a particular Turkish family. They come every year and they stay there for 3 months. Now they speak, all of them speak Greek, even their children.
So they
Yes.
go to Colony?
I don't have anything. You see, the thing is, people confuse nationality and government. Now, the Greek and Turkish government, they don't see eye to eye. But it doesn't mean that the Turkish government or the Greek government is representative of the people. When I took my father back in 1983 at the customs, my father spoke to them in Turkish. They responded to him in Greek,
Beautiful.
right? And I was surprised, and they said, "I'm sorry, I don't speak any Turkish." And he said, "I will never forget. People good, war bad. But were not responsible for what happened. And why? You know, my mother never spoke. She had all the reasons against Turks.
Really? Never spoke.
And she said to me, especially around the 25th of March, at school, we will talk about, and the text did this and the text did that, as the Greeks didn't do anything, right? And so we'll go home, and if I say something, my mother used to say, look, my son, look at the little street. Everybody's good, but everybody's bad. There are good people and bad people. So some people are good, some people are bad. And the only time when I went to the military college, when I was doing my national service, we were told to leave mustache, because mustache made us look older and more authoritative, etc. So the first time I had leave, I went, of course, to see my parents. My mother said, "Oh, go and shave the mustache. You look like a Turk." And then she started crying. I said, "Mom, why? What did you say wrong?" She said, "I shouldn't have said what I said." What does it mean? You look like a Turk. The way I said it, she said. You see? So,
What's March 25 like in Greece now?
sorry?
What's March 25 like in Greece now?
Oh, well, you have all these parades and things like that, and really, what for? What do we remember? A war is a war. And the thing is, unfortunately, innocent people pay for the war. Look what's happening around the world. Look what's happening in Ukraine. Look what's happening in Palestine.
Isn't that important to remember?
You should remember all the time, not one day. It's like Mother's Day. What, you wait until Mother's Day to say to your mother, I love you? Of course, it's important. The thing is, unless you remember and think about it of the past, you can't have a future anyway.
So the ambassador said March 25 is an important day to come together
Exactly.
and to freedom. Okay.
Yes.
He didn't say anything more other than that, except I was thinking that's what's in here,
Yes.
that we all have to work out
Yeah, for sure.
internally,
Yeah.
and then, like you said, do it every day.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're not responsible for what other people did. We're responsible for our own actions. And the thing is, what do we do to make sure that freedom is not an empty word? You must lose your freedom to appreciate what freedom is. And the thing is, how can you be free if you don't think about all these things? But it's a process. It's not something, as I said, that something you remember once a year and you forget the rest. And only when they start trouble starts between two countries or whatever, then you start thinking about it. I mean, we've got the Turkish president says that, oh, I'll come in one night and to take all the islands.
You're saying that still, is it?
Yes. What? In 2024? And the worst thing of what's happening in Ukraine and Palestine now is it gives reason to people for war. Not for peace, not for getting together, working together. Expansion for what?
Didn't they learn? Didn't the Turks learn?
Huh?
One of the things about March 25 to me
Yes.
was it took the Turks hundreds and hundreds of years to realise the Greeks are not worth it.
Yeah.
Trying to conquer them, trying to tell them what to do, you can't do it. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do, you'll never please them.
No. You see, and the thing is, I mean, for 400 years, Greece was under Turkish for 400 years and maintained customs, ideas, etc. Sorry.
What's the banging?
Yes.
The camera goes.
The language. So, what does war do? Kills people? Brings misery to people? But really, what's the achievement of a war?
Well, that's from the Greek point of view, freedom. To be Greek, to speak Greek, to do.
Yes.
Was it bad in Turkey when the massacres happened, when the genocides happened? Did that,
Yes.
was economic situation forced the Turks then to go, we'll get rid of all the different tribes
But
and take what they've got?
yeah, but look, what's happening between the Turks and the Kurds?
Yeah, what's happening there? Same thing?
Well, the same thing. For years and years and years. And will never stop. Because Erdogan wants to get rid of these people. But how can you get rid of them? Even if one person left. It's not going to change.
Yeah. It's very beautiful. What's the time now? You got it to watch? What's it? I think it's getting late.
Where's the time?
Getting cold. 2:20.
2:20.
Yeah.
I think it's, if you can drop me at the Hellenic Club, I will be very grateful.
Yeah, no problem.
How you going?
Oh, we're doing well.
Having a good discussion?
Yes.
You sure you had a good discussion?
Huh?
You sure you had a good discussion?
Yes. It's nice talk, always nice talking. And talking to people you can communicate, because you can talk but not communicate, if you know what I mean. So, just talking for the sake of talking, or talking because you want to discuss things.
I met his mother and his father.
What's that?
I met Michael's mother and father.
Yeah.
Jerseys, Turks they were. Greek Turks though. Time to go.